Welcome, everybody, to the Fall Damage Central Podcast, Episode 4. I'm the Mighty Bildo, and with me each and every week is my co-host, Old School Legend Gaming. What's up, Old School?
Yo, yo, yo. How's everybody?
I'm all right. I am all right. Apparently, though, there's some people online pissed off. I guess they're Diablo noobs, which I also am, so I don't want to piss anybody off like I'm a professional. But this week, apparently, the Diablo 4 servers went down, and nobody could play the game because I guess I think they call it DRM or something. I don't know what that stands for, but if the servers go down, the online servers go down, then nobody can play the game. There's no offline single player mode or anything like that. So I heard that go down this week, and I'm like, man, that's what you get for having all online games. So hopefully Blizzard, that is Blizzard, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully Blizzard, I don't know if it's a patch or update they can do to just give you a single player offline thing that don't have to be checked in online. But again, I'm a Diablo noob, so I don't know if this is a typical thing or what.
Yeah. So I think going forward with a lot of these DRM games that you're that we're starting to get into, DRM is the digital rights management, and essentially it's just legal access to digital content.
It lets them know that you own the game.
Correct.
Okay.
So you pay company X $10 to have product Y, and hey, you legally own that. But the problem with that is company X could always come back and just say, hey, you know what? We're discontinuing service for product Y. Yeah, I understand you paid us for it, but sorry about your luck, man. Boom. So essentially you're renting stuff. You don't really own it, quote unquote. So the situation with Diablo, yeah, unfortunately, when you have a game that's online that needs that constant connection, stuff like this is going to happen. You've got, hackers out there. You got the people that just want to mess stuff up. And, unfortunately, that's part of what's happening now with DRM gaming. I did see a news article from Blizzard saying it's a good idea to play Diablo 4 on a VPN. To me, I think that's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah.
That's kind of a BS, like, hey, you get this so you can play our game. Listen, I've already paid $70. I already paid $80, $100, whatever it was for your product. Give me a product that works, man.
Oh, yeah.
Take away the digital rights management, do all that other stuff. Hey, if I don't want to play online, allow me to not have to play online.
Yeah, that's my biggest gripe with the all digital future that we're inevitably going towards, and these always online games. That's why when Xbox One first came out years ago now, like 2013 or whatever it was, when they said, oh yeah, it's always got to be online if you want to play anything. And all the Xbox fans, threw a tissy or whatever, and they ended up reverting that back so it doesn't have to be online constantly anymore. But I feel like it's just one of those things where if people aren't like voting with their wallets, that's all these big companies care about. If you're going out and purchasing that game, giving them the $60, $70, $80 for that game, they're just going to keep on doing what they're doing and screw you pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to tell people this all the time, man. Vote with your wallet. You have a voice. Don't go on Twitter and bitch about it and complain about it. Just don't buy the product. You're going to know before the game comes out if it's online only, if you need a constant internet connection. You're going to know that stuff. So with that information, you need to make an educated decision. Hey, you know what? These are the possibilities of what can happen for always needing a constant internet connection. Let me go ahead and get this game. Or don't buy the game. And when these companies start seeing that sales are doing poorly, they're going to stop implementing that stuff. But as long as people continue to fund the habit, listen, this is going to become a normal thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that kind of leads into, I'm a big NFL fan. I love football. I love the sport. There was a time back in the early 2000s up until probably 2012, 2013, where I would buy all the Maddens The NFL game days, back when there was ESPN NFL football, I bought all those. I used to love playing them, but now EA has the sole rights to Madden, and they barely make any improvements every year, right? And I haven't bought it in probably, actually, I'll take that back. I bought 2023 recently because I wanted to play a damn football game, but it was like $15 or something on PlayStation, so I picked it up for whatever. But they barely make any improvements every year. If you follow the Angry Joe show on YouTube, every year he does a review on it. It's usually an epic fail from him. They don't provide any customization options, anything new, regardless. They don't implement anything new gameplay wise or anything. The things that they add every year is things like the stuff that's been in the game 10 years ago that they took out, and now they're just putting back in to kind of just play it off as something new, even though we've had it before. And that's why I don't personally buy those games up until this year. I haven't bought it. This is the first one I've bought in probably 10 years. And I just don't understand the logic of people going out every year and paying $70 for what's essentially a roster update.
Yeah, and I mean, some people just that's what they're into, man. They buy like next gen consoles just to play the new updated Madden, the new updated 2K, and hey, people like what they like, but I really think if people started voting with their wallet, these companies are going to stop putting out games like this. They're going to start doing more. We might see a Madden with even more robust features than we've had before. But right now, they have no reason to add anything else in because they know they have a particular fan base that's going to buy it day one, drop their $70. They're going to go ahead and get them sales from all those people. To me, it's kind of similar to the way Call of Duty is. I used to be a huge Call of Duty fan.
Yeah,
really, really big Call of Duty. As I'm sure many people were, but it's gotten to the point, man, where I've played all the Call of Duty games without even playing all the Call of Duty games because I know what we're gonna get. So they're gonna announce another one coming out in November, whichever sequel to whichever Call of Duty it is, but it's gonna be more of the same.
After they said they weren't releasing one this year, right?
Yeah. Well, supposedly the rumor is at probably like sometime here in the next couple of months, maybe at the Tokyo Game Show, they're probably going to announce the next one coming out. And I don't know if it's going to be this year or the following year. I'm just assuming it's going to be this year because it seems like every November they drop one. So we'll just have to wait and see. But that's another game, man. Like release that like $30, $40.
Yeah.
There's no reason it needs to be $70.
Yeah, because then you add in all the microtransactions and everything, and like I'm not paying $70 just to jump in and immediately be hit up for another $20 or $30 for downloadable content that should have been in the game to begin with, but you just took out to sell later.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been the guy shaking his fist at the clouds about DLC.
Yeah.
Back in the 360 PS3 era, that was relatively new. Having downloadable content, growing up playing games, you bought a game and that was it. You know what I mean? And then you bought the sequel when it came out. Yeah. There was no more to it. So now buying DLC started turning into, hey, you're paying $60 for the base game. And then you could buy DLC in like 4 months for $15. Then you could buy the next DLC package in another 4 months for like another $15. And then they sort of season passes. Hey, $20, you get all the DLC, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's taken that concept and has just like multiplied it by 100.
Yeah, that's like that new AEW Fight Forever game that just came out. I know once drops in price a little bit, we're going to pick it up and maybe do some co-op on the channel, live streams with it. But I was reading about it today. It just released today, and they already have, for the next 3 months, DLC planned, paid DLC. So like Matt Hardy, I don't think there's a version of Matt Hardy in the game currently, but there's going to be a DLC. I don't know if it's next month or the month after, where if you pay them more money, you get more characters. And it's like, guys, it just released. It's obvious that you already have this stuff made. You just took it out of the game to sell it later. And I hate that so much.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of waiting until like complete editions or like game of the year editions come out. That way you could get the majority of DLC packs and costumes and all that other stuff, and you only pay one price for it.
Yeah.
Because if not, man, you end up paying, well over hundreds of dollars for these games.
For a game that might not even be that great.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, that's really sad because people work hard for their money, man.
Yeah, and
they should be getting a good product.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I heard this week also with the Microsoft Activision FTC trial going on or whatever, it got leaked Sony's development costs on some of their games like Horizon and The Last of Us. Over $200 million to develop those games.
Yeah, so, man.
I get it. It's getting more and more expensive. I 100% get it. But I feel like it should be more of an incentive to these companies to make a quality game rather than pure garbage right out of the gate. And then if you do want to put microtransactions, which I believe has proven over the past 10 years or so that the microtransactions make more than the initial cost of getting to the game regardless for the company. If you're going to put microtransactions in the game, just make the game free to play, or at least maybe like $20-$30 to jump in. It doesn't need to be a full price game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big fan of fighting games, and Marvel vs. Capcom is probably one of my favorite series. So Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was the last one that came out, and that was on the PS4 and the Xbox One. So when you bought the game, it was $60, and it came with, I think, like 8 characters maybe.
God.
So now you could buy extra characters for like $5, $7, $10 a piece.
Yeah.
So this came out around the time when Black Panther first came out. So that was like one of the first characters they dropped. So everybody wanted to play as the Black Panther, but in order to play him, you got to pay $10. But wait a minute, I paid $60, so I got to pay $10 to play with another guy.
Yeah.
So they sold a character pack for like, I think it was like $40 or $50 that had all of like the quote unquote extra characters. So you're essentially paying over $100 to play with a roster of, I think it was like 12 characters or like 16 characters. It wasn't even that big, considering that Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which came out a decade prior, had like 60 characters.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So I've actually never played that one, and I won't because specifically because of that.
Yeah.
Like, put the characters in that game, man. I will gladly pay $50 for everything. Give me a bundle with everything. I don't want to have to pay $7 here, $5 there, $10. Nah, man.
Oh yeah.
Just give it all to me, man.
Then you got games like Fortnite, free to play, making billions of dollars a year just off the item shop and battle passes and stuff, which I'm totally cool with. That's a free to play game. Go ahead with your microtransactions and everything, as long as those transactions, the things you buy, are strictly cosmetic and don't alter the game for other players that may not have the money to purchase something.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of games are leaning towards that live service model that are going to be coming out. So we saw back at the PlayStation showcase, we saw that game coming out with from Squaresoft, or I'm sorry, from Square or whatever. I always want to call them Squaresoft because that's what they were called back in the day.
Yeah.
But the Square company, they're making the oh man, it's slipping my mind. It is the Splatoon, like the spinoff of Splatoon.
The foam something or other?
Yeah, it's like the foam party or something, the foam all-stars.
Yep.
So that's going to be a live service game. So you're going to be seeing a lot of those microtransactions, and hey, you're going to be paying a price for the game, and then additionally, you're going to be paying for all the extra stuff as well. So there's a lot of games coming out with that live service model, and unfortunately, man, I'm not a big fan of that. I know a lot of people aren't, but not much we can do about that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mind Fortnite and everything, but I don't want every single developer to make all these live service games, so we're left with nothing but live service. I mean, that's going to be shitty. But what I wanted to bring up last week or something, I forget one of these episodes we did, and I just forgot what it was. I'm sitting here trying to listen and think at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's good. So kind of piggybacking on this whole like live service stuff. This is one of the main reasons why I like to replay games, especially like on my older consoles, because I know when I replay a game, I'm getting into something that I've already played before, I've already enjoyed, I'm gonna enjoy it again. Let me go ahead and spend my time doing this rather than checking out a new live service game where I'm gonna have to put time and my money into, and I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And now I remember what I was going to say, but it's funny that we were watching the Nintendo showcase or Nintendo Direct last week or the week before, whenever it was. These developers see success in the Animal Crossings, the Splatoons, the Stardew Valleys, and now all of a sudden every developer wants to make a farming simulator. They want to make Animal Crossing clone or a Splatoon clone. And it's like, guys, come on, man. I hope those games come out and flop just so they could do something original and not have to copy every big game that's out. Whenever a big game comes out and takes off, everybody wants a copy of that game, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I understand, so everybody can't have every console. Some people, they're able to afford a Nintendo Switch and only a Nintendo Switch, or an Xbox or a PlayStation 5, whatever. But I like those games being specific to those consoles. So like Animal Crossing, you're only going to get that on Nintendo. So
Yep.
hey, get a Nintendo Switch so you can play Animal Crossing. I don't need to play a generic version of Animal Crossing on my PlayStation or my Xbox because of whatever reasons.
Yeah, I get it. Also came out this week, Starfield, no disc. So I heard conflicting reports. I watch Spawn Wave a lot, his morning news show every day. I saw it first reported that there was going to be no version of Starfield with a disc, and now I guess there's a conflicting report that there might be a disc version somewhere. Have you heard anything about that or no?
Yeah, so from my understanding, the collector's edition is going to be digital, and your digital code is going to be on some type of collectible trinket. The standard version of the game is going to come on a physical disc.
Okay, man.
So I mean, yeah, that blows for the, hey, let me get this collector's edition. Okay, here's your code.
Yeah,
But I understand it, man. Like we're getting into that digital age. The Xbox Series S, that's a very good console to get into at that price point. So
yeah,
I would imagine a lot of people are going to pick that up, to play. I was going to say Battlefield, to play Starfield. So there it is right there. I would think that more people would want to get the Xbox Series X just because it's more powerful, but it does also cost more.
yeah,
So
yeah. I like if you're gonna do. I would rather them do a collector's edition with all the cool little trinkets and statues and everything they put in there, and just not include a copy of the game. That way, you're free. Like lower the price a little bit, so because there's no game, so you don't have to pay for the game. And so instead of making it $200, make it like 120. Get all that cool stuff, and then you can go buy the version of the game that you want. Because I understand they don't want to make multiple versions of the collector's edition, some with discs, some with not discs or no discs, and then just have a ton of extras on hand, whichever doesn't get bought.
yeah, I would definitely like to see something like that too, because unfortunately for the physical collectors, you have one of two options. You either don't get a physical, like if you want the collector's edition, you don't get a physical copy and you just deal with it, or you end up buying a physical copy as well. So collector's edition is probably what we'll just say $200 right off the top of my head. I
Yep.
don't know the price for sure, but we know that the standard game is going to be $70. So, I mean, you're going to be paying close to 300, if not over 300 with tax for your collector's edition of Starfield, in addition to the physical disc.
Yep.
So, I mean, hey, listen, people can spend their money how they want. You know, I'm not here to tell people what they should buy, what they shouldn't buy, but I don't know. To me, that seems a little crazy.
I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Hello?
There you go.
All right. Yeah. So as I was saying, like, you know, I would never tell anybody what they can or cannot buy, what they can't spend their money on. But for me personally, I think that $300 for something like that, that's just a little bit too much, in my opinion.
Yep. Agreed. But with all that out of the way, we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode here, Old School.
Potatoes.
I've been excited to talk to you about this, and we were texting a little bit last night, and I was like, nope, I can't ask too many questions because I want to save it for the podcast. Now, Final Fantasy 16 has been out for 1 week today. I have my thoughts on it, but I want to hear yours from a true Final Fantasy fan who's done it, or you've played every single one of them, right?
Not every single one of them.
Well, a lot of them. A lot more than me. I played a lot of them. Okay. So what do you think about Final Fantasy 16?
All right. So disclaimer, anyone who's listening to this, we're getting into some spoiler territory. So if you're listening to this and you're interested in Final Fantasy 16, you have not played it yet, or you're not that far into it, this is your time to go ahead and shut this off.
Get out of here.
We'll catch you on the next one. We appreciate you listening. And
I haven't finished the game yet, so
yeah, neither have I. So
okay.
All right. I think this has been enough time. So whoever's listening and doesn't want to get spoiled, I'm sure they're gone by now.
That's right.
All right. So my initial thoughts about a week into the game. Not a fan. Not a fan. A little disappointed because I really liked the demo.
Yep.
Thought the demo was solid. I literally bought that game because of the demo.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like Final Fantasy to me. It could be a spin-off Final Fantasy game, but it doesn't feel like at its heart and soul, it doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. And it might be the combat, because it's literally action-based combat. There's nothing turn-based. There's not much strategy that goes involved in it. But it's all right. So let me try to wrap my thoughts up here, try to put together something a little coherent. So the story itself starts off, anybody who played the demo, you start off with the kid Clive. You know, he's Joshua's protector. Joshua's a little boy. Stuff happens. Joshua gets killed by this monster, etc., etc. So you start the game off like right after the demo. So now you're Clive, you're older, you're part of this like army. The story is not what you think it is based on the demo. And I'm trying not to go into too many details because I know you're probably not where I'm at in the game. But I'm having the part that I'm at in the game, I'm having a hard time following. And I don't know if I missed something, but the story is like convoluted right now, and it's not making much sense. So what you would think would be the main story is not the main story at all. So that was kind of a kick in the nuts, I thought. I was just kind of like, The other problem I have is just the pacing with the game in general.
Yep.
There's parts where it's really good and, oh man, but then it has like these times where it just lulls. I mean, it is just, I've fallen asleep a couple times while I was playing.
Oh, wow.
I'm dead serious, man, because I'm just like, get on with it.
Yeah,
like some of these cutscenes are so long.
Dude, I know. And then you end the cutscene and you run like to the next little area and then you get another 20 minutes of cutscenes. Yeah. It's like, Jesus, man.
And I'm just like, oh man, I can't take it. So side missions, there's a lot of side missions, and thus far, every side mission I've played has been some iteration of, hey, take this to this person, take this to that person, take that to that person, and then you go back to the person that gave you the quest, and then you get your treasure or like
Yeah.
whatever. Those are cool once in a while, but when you do like 6 in a row,
Gets old.
yeah, yeah. The combat, it's, and this is just my opinion. I think the combat is very bland. It's There's a little bit of strategy involved. You know what I mean? You could definitely switch it up with your triangle button and your icons and stuff.
Yep.
But I'm trying to get through the game. I just want to finish the game because I paid full price for it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, let me just finish this game and be done with it. So there's items that you could equip, and pretty much it plays the game for you. So there's a medallion that you could equip, and it does all your combos and everything for you. All you got to do is press square. They have another one that you put on, and it dodges for you automatically.
I got that
And
one. Yep.
and finally, there's a third one, and it pretty much like takes control of your dog.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about issuing the commands for your dog. So I put those on, and I started playing with those as of yesterday, and it's very boring. It is very boring because you're at this point, like, I'm literally just pressing square.
Yeah.
Like, I'm moving and I'm pressing square. That's it. Um, yeah, like the story itself, it's I, I spoiled it for myself. I went online and I was like, all right, because I was actually going to stop playing.
Uh-huh.
It came to the point where I was like, all right, I got to concede, man. I can't take this anymore. I went online and I started reading about the story to see like what's going on, and it sounds interesting. And you know, I don't know how it's going to play out, but I continued playing. I got further into the story. Like, I'm pretty deep into the story now, and I'll be honest, I have no idea what the hell is going on.
Ugh.
I don't.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that makes me feel good because I'm kind of confused at the point I'm at too. Like, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Who's this person or whatever? And it's just like, and
So
it's hard, like you said, to stay engaged. Like, I just got to a point, I passed Martha whatever. I forget what it's called. Not Martha's Vineyard, but something else like that, where this barkeep or whatever named Martha.
Yep.
I just passed there where you're looking for this old guy that's, well, first she sends you off to an abbey, right? Like a church, I guess. And you see all these people in the basement dying or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. So you go there, you run all the way over there, get that cutscene, don't do anything else, and you have to run all the way back. A quest completed. So I'm like, oh, great, that was a waste of time. And then I guess not if you're into the story. I guess it's not because it's building on the story, whatever. But I just personally didn't care. And then you had to find some old guy that hangs out by a well. Oh, you got to find this senile old man. Like, great. Okay. So I go find him.
But he's not there. So it's like you have to talk to a person that sends you to talk to another person that sends you to talk to another person. And then they're like, oh, yeah, he might be over here by this cliff.
And another big gripe I have about it is the cinematic cutscenes, like the movie style cutscenes that you see in game, are amazing. They're great. They're probably the best I've seen in a long ass time. But those little tiny cutscenes where it's just your character talking to an NPC and the camera's just going back and forth, like it's kind of lower budget cinematics.
Mm-hmm.
The characters' lips don't match the words that they're saying, and it takes me out of it. I'm like, that looks so horrible. Yeah. Some characters are a little better than others, but for the most part, it's just all garbage to me. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the best, man. And I know there's some people out there who like the hardcore diehard Final Fantasy fans love it.
Yeah.
Just because of the name alone. I love Final Fantasy. This one gets on the doo-doo list because
do you think if there was turn-based combat in this game? I know you kind of mentioned it before, but do you think if there was turn-based combat, would it have made it better?
I don't necessarily think it would need turn-based combat, but I would think that you would be able to have different elements of magic. So rather than the icons, right? You've got like the Phoenix icon, which is fire, and then you eventually get another icon, which is wind.
Yep, I got that one.
I would like more of a so the way Final Fantasy VII, the Final Fantasy VII remake is set up, it's kind of action based, but it's still kind of like turn based as well, if that makes any sense. So you could be attacking somebody and you could pull up a menu
Yes.
and, you know, equip your materia or like whatever it is that you need to do. I like that because at least you have like a little bit of strategy.
Yep.
One of my biggest arguments for turn based, not just because I'm an old man, but I like the turn based stuff because like you have to play strategically. I feel right now every battle is the same. Like,
oh yeah,
the same strategy that you fight with like level 1 wolves or whatever is the same strategy you employ against like the level 30 demon person boss.
Yeah.
Like nothing changes.
Dodge and mash X or square. Dodge, mash, square. That's all it is.
Yeah. And it literally all the boss battles are the same. They have like their soul bar or whatever that you have to knock down and get them staggered, do some damage, get them staggered again, do some more damage, let them go into like their second half animation, stagger them again, and it's just like rinse and repeat. And it was fine for the first like 4 hours. I mean, granted, it was getting a little bit old, but now it's at a point where it's just, oh man, it is.
I don't want to do this.
Yeah. And then there's parts where you turn into your icon, Ifrit, or Ifrit, or whatever the hell, however they pronounce it. And you fight against like another giant icon, and the battles there are literally the same. It's,
And I feel like those battles, because I only fought as him one time, I believe, in the main game. I'm not counting the demo, but it feels real slow. Like he walks super slow. You have to dodge. It's when we fought Garuda, I think the first time or whatever it was. Walks super slow, and then he only has like 2 or 3 moves that he can do.
Yep.
It just feels very boring to me.
Yeah. So apparently, oh man. So this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler. Like it's nothing like.
Let me have it.
So later on in the game, you become him again, and you find out that the Ifrit icon gets abilities based on the abilities that you unlock for Clive. So as you level up and you unlock more abilities, then you unlock more abilities for Ifrit.
Okay.
But it's literally more of the same.
I think his slowness kind of just pissed me off. Like,
yeah,
and I want to be jumping around like crazy.
Yeah, and it comes down to a pacing issue again, because usually these battles, you're Clive, the human at first, and you're fighting and you're quick and dodging and hitting and doing all this other stuff, and then all of a sudden you become Ifrit, and then you're just like slow and tanky and all this other stuff. And yeah, I just disappointed is what I would say. This was a game I could have definitely waited for a price drop, and I would have been okay. But
how many hours you think you're into the game so far?
I'm probably about a good 20 hours into it, maybe 25.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be surprised if I'm at 10 by now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing pretty much every day, like at night.
Yeah.
For a couple of hours, and I just got to the point now where before I went into like this one mission, it was like, hey, you're entering a pivotal point of the story. Do you want to continue, or do you want to go back and do like side quests and stuff? So I just went ahead and continued.
Yeah.
But running into a point where it's the battles are really the same. You go into an area, like you go into like a castle, and on every floor you're fighting enemies. So, hey, floor 1 enemies fighting. Okay, Go up the stairs. Floor 2, same enemies. Floor 3, same enemies with a couple other ones. Floor 4, same thing. And it just gets really boring because it's just like, all right, now come on.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. So I've a lot of the main stories too, I feel like they could be side stories. I I don't feel like a lot of the main stories are adding anything to the overall story of Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah.
And there's one that I did last night before I stopped, and it was you got to find a dame, and you're talking to her about something. So she wants you to look for one of her missing hose or whatever the hell. So you're on the search for her. So she sends you to talk to one person, and then this person sends you to go talk to another person, and then that person sends you to go talk to another person.
And it's all boring dialogue.
Yeah. And then after you talk to that person, you got to go back to the dame, and then she sends you off to even further to go talk to this guy over there. So you talk to this guy over there, and then he sends you to go talk to this other person, and then they tell you, oh, like, check this area over here, and then you get into a boss battle, and then you got to go back to the village to go talk to the dame. And it's just like, what?
Yeah.
They could have skipped like 15 steps.
Oh yeah.
They really could have.
Have you unlocked the ability to ride a chocobo yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Apparently that's somewhere around the Martha's place. My buddy who's also playing through it, and sidebar, loves the game. He's a Final Fantasy nut, so he loves it. But he said somewhere around the Martha's place, there's a side quest that you do and you get a chocobo you ride on, and it makes traveling a lot easier because you can get there faster and blow past a lot of the enemies that are just out in the open world.
Okay. So I might have to go back and, well, actually, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, because I've gotten to that point in the story. But I've pretty much I started skipping all the side quests.
Yeah. I haven't done one.
Yep.
I heard that's how they were, and I just, since the beginning, I was like, nope, not doing any of those. Just want main story.
Yep. So I even now, like, I'm running by enemies. Like, they'll come up to me, like, looking for the smoke, and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm just gonna keep it moving. And so I'm at level 24, I believe.
Okay.
My character's at level 24, and that's really main battles. I'm not going out of my way to do any extra battles or anything. Like I said, I'm solely focused on trying to finish the game. I just want to hurry up and get through it and then be done with it and move on to the next.
Yeah, man. Since our conversation last week, I bought Grand Theft Auto, the trilogy.
Yeah.
And I'm itching to get into that, but I'm like, man, I paid $100 for this deluxe edition of Final Fantasy. I gotta at least beat the game. And so I haven't popped it in yet, but I got it all installed, ready to go. As soon as I'm done with Final Fantasy, I'm gonna jump into that and play some GTA 3.
Yeah, I think once I finish this game, I'm going to play Final Fantasy X, because Final Fantasy X is my favorite, and I kind of feel like I need like a Final Fantasy palate cleanser. And like, look, I don't hate the game. I don't.
Yeah,
it's not the worst game I've ever played, but it's not what I was expecting.
Do you notice anything with motion blur? Because it was like one of the first things I picked up on when I first jumped into the main game, and I went through the settings trying to find a way to turn it off, and I can't turn it off. And I seen somebody complain on Twitter or something recently, last day or two, and apparently a lot of people are having issues with it. The motion blur is just crazy.
Yeah. The motion blur in that game is definitely a problem. I typically turn motion blur off because my old man eyes.
Yeah, same here.
You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Like, I'm just like, oh man, you get nauseous. You just kind of get disoriented a little bit. The motion blur in there is like really bad. Yeah, and they have no way to turn that off. So
okay,
that's kind of an L there. So hopefully they release a patch or something where they add that setting on there that you can change.
Yeah. Well, maybe when both of us are done, complete the game, we can do like a full-on review of our overall thoughts once we get the entire game in our system, get a chance to process it. Maybe it'll pick up at the end. I don't know, but I think that'll be something cool we can do.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be down for it.
You mentioned Final Fantasy X. You want to go back and play that? Have you heard anything about a Final Fantasy X remake? I've heard some rumors that they're working on one.
So I don't know, to be honest. I mean, like, I've heard the rumors, but like I don't. So I know they're making a Final Fantasy IX remake,
Okay.
or they're remaking Final Fantasy IX. I don't think it's going to be on the same. I don't think it's going to be on the same level as like a Final Fantasy VII remake.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna. So there's a game called Trials of Mana. Have you seen that on the PS4?
Yep.
All right. So Trials of Mana is like one of the sequels to Secret of Mana, which is on the PS2. So Trials of Mana was originally on the Super Famicom in Japan. There wasn't an American release for it. So Trials of Mana on the PS4 that came out is a remake of that game. So it's got like updated visuals, like different music score. I think it's got updated controls also. I think that's the route they're going with Final Fantasy IX. So with them redoing Final Fantasy IX, I don't know how long it would take them to do a Final Fantasy X if they did a Final Fantasy X,
Mm-hmm.
or if they are going to do a Final Fantasy X, if it's going to be the same remake treatment that they give Final Fantasy IX. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I haven't. I've never played like this Trials of Mana or whatever, so I don't really have something to compare it to. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so pretty much with the Trials of Mana, think of like Super Nintendo graphics.
Yep.
So that's what the original game looked like. So now picture kind of a cartoony, like almost cell shaded PS4 game. So
Okay.
big contrast in the visuals.
So something
Big
like
difference in the visuals.
Legend of Zelda, that remake. What was it called? The remake that
Link's Awakening.
yes, that one.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Similar example there.
Okay. Cool. Well,
But yeah, I would love for them to remake Final Fantasy X, because I'll pick up that collector's edition. I'll pay full price for that because I love that game.
yeah, that's the Final Fantasy I've played most of in the entire series so far, and for the PS2. I never played 10 2, but I played 10 quite a bit, and I'd be interested to jump into that if it got the full on remake treatment.
Yeah. 10-2 is actually pretty good. It gets a lot of hate because it's very girl power. Like, it's very feminine.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the three main characters are all female, but it takes place in Spira. So you see a lot of the characters that you played in Final Fantasy X. Like, you run into Waka and Lulu, and like they're married and they have a kid.
So you're
there's-
not the same main character from the first one?
Yeah, so you're Yuna. You're Yuna, Riku, and then there's a third girl named Pain. I can't remember where she came from, but so it's the three of you guys. So it's Yuna.
Yuna is the blonde hair.
No, Riku's the one with the like the blonde hair. She's the Albed one.
Okay, so Riku's the main character you play in 10, right?
No, so Titus or however the hell you pronounce his name is the main character in 10. But the girl that he ends up falling in love with, and like the one that's on her pilgrimage with the Aeons and stuff,
yeah,
that's Yuna. So she's your main character in 10 too.
Okay.
So the main character in 10 is the guy with the spiky hair.
Yep.
Yep. And then like they end up falling in love, and so pretty much the premise of 10-2 is so here's a spoiler if nobody's played Final Fantasy X.
The game that's been out for 20 years or something.
Yeah. So at the end of Final Fantasy X, your main character is like, he doesn't exist. He just like disappears. She falls in love with this guy. He like dips. He's gone. So she ends up seeing a vision of somebody who looks very much like him, and she thinks it's him. So she goes on this whole adventure looking for this thing, and it turns out that it's a bad guy. I can't remember what it was, but I remember the last boss was called Vegnagun, and it was controlled by the guy who looks like Titus. That turned out to not be Titus. I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, that ends up being the battle there. But
interesting.
It was a good game, man. It got a lot of hate though. So the combat in that one was turn-based, but they introduced these things called dress spheres. And what it was is in the middle of battle, you could switch clothes, and depending on what you wear, it depends on like the abilities you have.
Mm-hmm.
So you could turn from like a white mage to healing everybody to change your dress sphere into a black mage, and then you're doing like destructive magic.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd be down to play a remake of that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So in closing, you're thinking the Final Fantasy VII remake is better than 16 so far because of the more strategic kind of battle elements and stuff.
Yeah. It's I never got bored playing the 7 remake. No, that's not true. There's one part where you're like in the sewers that got pretty tedious. But the way I felt about that area in the 7 remake is how I feel about the entire Final Fantasy 16 game. If that makes any sense.
No, it's funny. We're on the same page, and all the millions of people that are going to watch this episode, they're all going to jump on us and, oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about.
We're getting canceled.
Getting canceled before we even start.
It was a good little run.
Yeah, right. Well, that's all I had. This is gonna kind of be a shorter episode this week. We're actually going to record 2 episodes tonight because I'm out of town all week next week, so we want to put something up. To give you a little tease, we're going to be looking at, I don't have it here next to me anymore. I don't know. I put it back on the shelf, but we're going to be looking at that GamePro magazine from April 99 that we looked at last week, I think. So we're going to go through that page by page and just have a little nostalgia trip, go down memory lane and talk about it. I think it's going to be fun. But I appreciate everybody that's listened to this so far. Made it to the end here. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more Fall Damage Central podcasts. I appreciate you, Old School, for hopping on. And
yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. It's always a good time.
Yes, sir. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.
Peace.